From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
President Donald Trump made a big announcement coming straight from the Oval Office today that directly affects Arizonans, while plans are in the works that could create thousands of jobs in Chandler.
And how some Valley residents are able to control their home with just the touch of a button. We take a look at some of the concerns over smart apartments.
Plus, this training program at Turf Paradise helps put less stress on the horses.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Anthony Mitchell.
And I'm Veronica Acosta. Thank you for joining us. Intel CEO Brian Krzanich met with President Donald Trump today, where he announced Intel will be investing $7 billion into Fab 42, a vacant factory in Chandler.
Brian called a few weeks ago and said we want to do a very big announcement having to do with our country, but also having to do mostly with Arizona and the jobs and the great technology that will be produced.
And to be able to announce our $7 billion investment in our newest, most advanced factory, Fab 42 in Chandler, Arizona.
Intel says Fab 42 is expected to be the most advanced semiconductor factory in the world, and microprocessors created there would eventually power data centers and millions of smart devices worldwide. It'll take about 3 to 4 years to complete, and Intel says it will directly create approximately 3,000 high-tech jobs for company-hired engineers and technicians. But Intel says indirectly, Fab 42 could lead to 10,000 total long-term jobs in Arizona. This investment is a revival of a similar announcement made by the company in 2011. Alexa Arms is live in Chandler with the latest.
The factory has been sitting idle for years, but Intel's CEO says President Trump's support for tax cuts and deregulation have helped move things along. Of course, this isn't the first time a president has championed an Intel investment. You may recall President Obama supported the company's promise to build the $5 billion Fab 42 in 2011 and even visited the plant site in 2012. But the plant never went into full operation because of changes in the industry. Now, the project is back with an additional $7 billion investment. And this afternoon, the Chandler mayor expressed his excitement in sealing the deal, saying it's like the Super Bowl for his city.
Investment by Intel as validation that Intel wants to remain in Chandler and remain in a city that is financially stable and very proactive.
The mayor also told reporters the project is also expected to bring thousands of construction jobs to Arizona.
It's been almost a year since the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Circuit Judge Neil Gorsuch was nominated last week to replace Scalia, but that nomination first has to make it through Senate. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Fingert reports from Capitol Hill tonight.
Judge Neil Gorsuch made his rounds on Capitol Hill today a little more than a week after being nominated to the Supreme Court, and one of those stops was at Arizona Senator Jeff Flake's office.
Judge Gorsuch. Thank you for having me.
After that handshake, Senator Flake is more confident than ever that Judge Gorsuch is the right man for the job.
After meeting Judge Gorsuch, I feel even better about him.
The closed-door meeting lasted nearly 30 minutes. Afterward, Flake said he feels the judge has the right temperament.
I've been a fan of the opinions he's written, the philosophy he has, and after explaining it again to me, I certainly am more supportive.
Judge Gorsuch was set to meet with 7 senators today, 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats, in his attempt to win support on the Hill. Many Democrats are still upset at the way Senate Republicans refused to consider former President Barack Obama's choice for the Scalia vacancy. Judge Merrick Garland never got a hearing. Flake says he likes how Judge Gorsuch handled the situation.
I was impressed that his first call after he was named was to his friend Merrick Garland, just out of respect.
The Democrats have threatened to stall or even block the nomination, but as of now, no votes have been scheduled. On Capitol Hill tonight, Tyler Fingert, Cronkite News.
The future of Trump's travel ban is in the hands of 3 judges. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals panel heard arguments last night. Trump said the arguments made during the hearing were disgraceful. The judges are expected to make a decision soon. And leading up to the decision, an Arizona woman who feared deportation due to the ban has officially been arrested by immigration authorities today. Guadalupe Garcia de Rayos came to the U.S. when she was 14 and was arrested during raids by former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Each year since her release, de Rayos meets with ICE officials for a hearing, which was scheduled for today. Her lawyer says that Trump's orders are meant to split families apart.
I am heartbroken. I feel for Aaron, for the children, and this is exactly what President Trump's executive orders were meant to do, to separate good families, hardworking people, people of faith, people who are raising their children to do something excellent in this world, and to separate them and tear them apart.
The mayor of Mesa and the congressman of De Rayos district wrote letters to Immigration Services asking that she be allowed to stay in the country. Her lawyer said that officials are still considering a stay of deportation. The Senate is headed toward a vote this evening that's expected to confirm Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. The vote comes after lengthy debates where GOP leaders defended Sessions as honest and fair, while Democrats questioned his civil rights record. Ahead of tonight's floor vote, leaders have been holding round-the-clock speeches today in opposition of Sessions, including Democratic leader Elizabeth Warren.
Proposed legislation could have serious ramifications for citizen ballot initiatives. I went to the Arizona House of Representatives to learn more about House Concurrent Resolution 2002.
The legislature undermined the will of the voters in the 1990s. The voters said no more of that, and then put in Prop 105.
But the will of the voters is under attack again. HCR 2002 has its sights set on the repeal of a citizen-sponsored Voter Protection Act. The Voter Protection Act that the bill aims to repeal, or at least partially repeal, was passed in 1998 under Proposition 105. Since then, it has been used to prevent the legislature from diverting funds or altering in any way a citizen initiative. Rather than view the act as a handcuff, Representative Ken Clark thinks his duty is to protect the will of the voters.
Either way, it's a bad idea. Because the public is clear about this. Poll after poll shows the public wants to have its ability to affect policy in Arizona. This is what makes Arizona different than other states, is that we have that right of initiative.
A citizen initiative passed last year increases the percentage spent on education from the Arizona Land Trust Endowment Fund and will raise $3.5 billion over 10 years. John Hartzell of AMA explains how it could be affected by the proposed repeal.
They could go back and change that, amend that to reduce that sales tax. So they certainly could change the intent of that referendum. They could change the way those monies are diverted. They could put them into different programs, something the voters didn't seek to achieve at all.
The sponsor of HCR 2002, Representative Eugenti Rita out of District 23 in Scottsdale, was unable to get out of committee for an interview. She later sent us this statement. I believe the correct method to deal with those legislators who overturned the will of the voters is to vote them out of public office, rather than tying the hands of future legislators. One could argue the democratic process is being undermined when one group with a single issue amends the state constitution to hijack our systems of checks and balances. On Thursday, HCR 2002 will make its second committee appearance before members of Arizona's Congress. Unofficial positions taken before the vote show a vast majority of representatives are against the repeal. This bill is just one of three that could potentially weaken citizen referendums. One of these related bills, House Bill 2320, would require all measures to include ominous disclosure language meant to confuse voters.
An Arizona lawmaker is changing his proposal for a bill involving celebratory gunfire. Representative Tony Rivero pulled House Bill 2287 from debate today. The bill would change a law that makes celebratory or random gunfire a felony. Rivero's original proposal lowered the ban to within a quarter of a mile of an occupied structure, but his main focus is now to make sure that people can't be prosecuted for accidentally shooting a gun. Dyslexia is a cognitive condition that affects 17% of the nation.
Some people might see B's as D's or 5s as S's. Coming up on Cronkite News, how Arizona lawmakers are trying to increase resources for students diagnosed with dyslexia.
Plus, how one project in the Valley is helping get disconnected youth off the streets and back in school.
I'm Scott Pelley, anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News. In our changing media landscape, it is crucial for journalism education to ensure a commitment to the truth, unbiased reporting, strong ethics, unwavering fairness, and above all else, accuracy. These are the hallmarks of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. It's a place where students can innovate and transform the news industry while always upholding the values of the school's namesake. The Cronkite School at ASU, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Discover so much more at azpbs.org/schedule, where it's easier than ever to find out what's on Arizona PBS. Access interactive digital and printable program guides, repeat times, and full episode descriptions. Watch program previews of best bets for the coming week. Search by title to find your favorite shows. You can even add programs to your calendar and get email reminders when they're about to start. It's easier than ever to find out what's on Arizona PBS. Discover so much more at azpbs.org/schedule. When you want to be more connected, friend us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us online.
Some special zip codes in Arizona are getting targeted support in helping high school dropouts succeed. In 2013, Arizona had the highest dropout rate in the country, 7.8%, according to the U.S. Department of Education. Though that's dropped to 3.4%, certain counties have higher spikes. Reporter Kaylee Nassif tells us how the Zip Code Project is helping disconnected youth get back in school.
Teenagers drop out of school and become disconnected for a variety of reasons: homelessness, teenage pregnancy, mental or physical disabilities, immigration status, or even trouble with the law.
I was going to parties and just hanging out with the wrong crowd.
But Paula Alvarado is working to get back on track. She's now a student at Genesis Academy, an alternative charter high school in Phoenix. Alvarado is just one of the young adults that Genesis Academy helps every day.
There is no student that we don't know their name. If we don't get a hold of them, we get a hold of their aunt, their uncle, their grandma, whatever, to find out why they're not in school and get them in school.
Genesis City, the agency that runs the school, is one of the organizations working with the Zip Code Project. When the project began last year, it targeted Chinle, Maryvale, South Phoenix, and Ajo, all of which have high rates of dropouts and unemployed young adults.
What we're doing is going around to different high-need areas around Arizona and pulling together community groups of action, which includes business, education, and government, and nonprofits.
The youth disconnection rate is 1 in 7 across the country and 1 in 5 in Arizona. It's one of the biggest problems that the Zip Code Project is hoping to tackle. After feedback from educators and nonprofits, the Department of Education decided to expand the project. This year, they plan to add 3 zip codes and produce dropout prevention toolkits. But for young adults like Alvarado, the most important thing is being noticed.
They try pushing me because they saw potential in me. So I think that's what helped me become who I am now.
The Zip Code Project plans to continue building partnerships and expand to every county in Arizona by fiscal year 2022. And the First Amendment Forum, Kaylee Nassif, Cronkite News.
For students struggling with dyslexia, school is a challenging and sometimes frustrating place. A new bill could implement a universal dyslexic handbook for school districts to use throughout the state to help these students. Cronkite News reporter Joe Constantine talked to the lawmaker behind the bill.
Everyone was starting to become familiar with reading and advancing while I was trying to desperately sound out a word.
Students dealing with dyslexia testified before the House Education Committee on Bill 2202. Nearly 17% of the U.S. population has some form of dyslexia. 14 states have what is known as the Dyslexia Handbook, a universal handbook for all districts to use in order to define, diagnose, and help students with dyslexia. Arizona is not one of them yet.
We reached out to Ohio, Alabama, Texas, and we talked to them about what worked for their state, what didn't work, and we basically took a look at lessons learned, and we took the pieces from the other states where they were successful, and then we made that into our own Arizona handbook.
At the Wellington Alexander Center in Scottsdale, teachers work with students who have been diagnosed with dyslexia.
The sounds are spoil.
John Thomas is one of the many students who come to the center every day to combat their dyslexia.
Students at centers like this one use things such as learning blocks and thinking charts to realize that words are made up of sounds.
Taking out the it, put in it.
Center Director Stacy Fredheim is in favor of the bill. She hopes it could benefit students with more resources and earlier diagnosis.
As a community, really will be better served if our schools have a common definition of dyslexia and have some resources in their tool bags of being better able to recognize the signs and symptoms of dyslexia.
The bill is set for its third House reading in the following weeks. In Scottsdale, Joe Constantine, Cronkite News.
ASU is partnering with the Navajo Nation to bring science and engineering mixed with Navajo culture to reservation classrooms. The partnership has held 10 STEM camps in Navajo middle and high schools. The purpose of the camps is to teach students about science and machinery through storytelling. The Navajo Nation had limited access to math and science courses until the partnership with ASU.
Scottsdale Police at Waste Management Open offered voluntary breathalyzer testing as a part of a program titled Know Your Limits. Its purpose? To help give people information that could help them decide whether or not to drive. In a news release, Scottsdale Police revealed that out of the 10,000 people who took the voluntary alcohol levels test at the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, 4,000 failed. Out of those 4,000, 222 admitted that they planned on driving home. Some of your groceries may have been grown by fish.
A company in Phoenix found a way to make fish farmers. Coming up next, a bizarre way to fertilize produce. What fish and farming have in common.
It's another beautiful day out there today, but warmer temperatures are on the way, perfect for getting out to the pool. I'll have your full forecast coming up.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. About now.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe it?
According to a recent study, 81% of consumers are aware of smart homes, but only 26% want one. Cronkite News reporter Farai Bennett takes a look inside where many residents are adapting to their home technology.
When it comes to finding new tenants at Vistara Santan Village, Tamara Cade has technology on her side. She says the Gilbert Apartments are among the first tech smart complexes in the valley where everything is controlled with the touch of your phone.
I believe the idea came from our ownership group, partnered with Claire Controls, in order to make, a smart home come to the apartment industry, just to make people's lives a little bit easier.
Within the click of a button, you have automatic access to your thermostat, lights, locks, and even music.
It's for everyone every day. Everyone does business from their phone now. They do, they shop from their phone. Why can't they just control their apartment home from their phone as well?
Open just 6 months, Cade says Vistara has leased more than half of its units, which started $1,000 a month for one bedroom. But Scottsdale real estate broker Kim Hansen says in the housing market, the demand for smart homes is slower.
Cost is going to have to be important. I think that as technology grows, as we learn more, as things change, I do think that, obviously price point and ease of use are going to be the two big things.
Hansen says the housing market also caters to baby boomers and above, an age group that might not care about having the latest gadgets. But back at Vistara, Kate is happy to let technology lend a hand toward new customers. In Gilbert, Farai Bennett, Cronkite News.
There's a way to grow farm fresh vegetables in your own backyard, and fish can be the ones growing them. Judson Tamaiko is finding out how aquaponics is breaking into the mainstream.
John Healy averages over 15,000 workers at his business in Glendale, Arizona. However, most of them don't even know they're working.
The fish create a waste, and through the nitrogen cycle, if you remember your high school biology, that waste is converted into nitrogen, and that nitrogen fertilizes the plants, Plants remove the nitrogen from the water and give fish back the clean water.
After discovering aquaponics 7 years ago, Healy started his own business helping others enter the world of farming with fish. Aquaponics actually uses no dirt at all, instead using a small rock-like medium that requires no composting, no rototilling, no fertilizer, and no pesticides.
Now, while aquaponics is more water and space efficient, it isn't designed to replace 100-acre farms. It's designed to supplement them and give food sources closer to urban communities.
Dr. George Brooks Jr., who started his own agricultural technology consulting firm, believes aquaponics is about to be commonplace in the valley.
The city of Phoenix wrote in their general plan that they want to have urban farming. What we need are high-tech methods that are low cost and highly efficient that will allow this to happen. And aquaponics, in my opinion, will be one of those methodologies to make this new green revolution work.
For people interested in growing plants using aquaponics, Dr. Brooks teaches a class at Mesa Community College. Aquaponics material suppliers have their own classes, and there's even free online books about the topic.
This is a way of the future.
As for Healy, he recommends the new aquaponics grower start small, grow big, and don't over-engineer it. In Glendale, Judson Smyko, Cronkite News.
It's another 70-degree day in the valley today, but a heat wave is on its way.
Lauren Hornberger is in the Weather Center tracking how the temperatures could impact your plans.
That's right, it's a beautiful day in Arizona. Temperatures across the state are pretty comfortable. 57 right now in Grand Canyon, 76 in Tucson. And Yuma, you're one of the first parts of the state to hit those 80-degree temperatures, 82 right now. In the valley, we're seeing mid to high 70s, 77 in Laveen, 77 in Phoenix, and 78 in Buckeye. Now for your day tomorrow, we're gonna see cloudy skies throughout the day. That is gonna dissipate for your drive time home. But what I wanna focus on is that 82-degree temperature by 3 p.m. because that is 10 degrees hotter than we normally see at this time of year. And unfortunately, that is gonna last at least another day. So we're expecting high temps around 85 on Thursday and Friday. But then look at this, on the weekend, we're gonna see temps drop into the 60s. Luckily, it's gonna even out for the rest of your week. Sunny skies and 70s for your Valentine's Day. Lauren Hornberger, Cronkite Weather.
Racehorses always need to be in the best shape.
A form of training has these four-legged athletes swimming. Coming up next, we take a look at the unique way Turf Paradise is strengthening the performance of its racehorses.
Fascinating. You know, sometimes I wish I wasn't so beloved.
Can't you see? Little girl got a hold on me like wow. Baby, I'm howling for you.
It's literally one for the history books.
Enjoy.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
Runners might use pools to relieve muscle aches and pains.
But racehorses can also find healing underwater. Cronkite News reporter Troy Lynch went to an equine pool to see how these horses work out.
You're okay right there. You're all right.
17 years ago, Turf Paradise installed an equine pool to help train their horses for races.
This just extends their life and their racing career so much. But it's still got to win, you know. They still got to take care of them and their legs got to stay tight and everything like that. But this extends their life a lot.
This equine pool is 14 feet deep, and it's one of the only ones that you can find on a racetrack in the Southwest region. The point of the equine pool is to relieve pressure and stress on the horse's muscles and joints, which means better cardio when it comes to race day.
All you do is swim, and you actually you enhance their lungs. You know, if you don't do it too much, because they've got to use their lungs, and they use other parts of their body that they don't use galloping.
I see a happier horse. They're not dealing with the swelling in the legs or the tendon strains and stuff that they do on the track when they gallop in the mornings.
Just like every swimming lesson, there will always be nerves before getting in the water. And the younger they are, the higher the nerves.
When a 2-year-old comes up here, or a horse first time, see like this horse right here, they're gonna splash a little water on her, let her know that water's there. And we don't want that. We don't want that.
But after a while, the horses love it, and the owners love its benefits. In Phoenix, Troy Lynch, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, state lawmakers join us to update the legislative session, and the mayor of Yuma offers his perspective on the president's proposed border wall. That's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, I sit down with House Speaker Paul Ryan to talk about his agenda and the first weeks of the Trump administration. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.